And good morning. Let's start with Mother Nature. We're looking at a really nice patch or stretch of weather here, J Dog, from our capital region, our new studios here, or updated studios, beautiful studios here. Looking at some sunshine out there. It's going to get warmer as we get into the day, and another beautiful day tomorrow, and a pretty good looking Friday. Not a bad weekend, but the next 3 days, J Dog, the hat trick in the weather is today, tomorrow, and Friday. Enjoy it. Good morning. Good morning up into Maine, WTSN, AM and FM, Dover, Rochester, you name it, right up the Spalding Turnpike. Good morning, Hampton, Portsmouth, WTSN, AM and FM. Lakes region, we have you covered and blanketed. Manchester, Concord, WTPL 1077 FM. New England, and hey, worldwide, hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the pulse of an H. Our poll question up on X this morning, and J-Dog will share the results from yesterday. Our poll question up on X, and simply the pulse of an H. That's everything. The only password you need with us or PIN to remember, because we all can't remember our own. Gets harder each year to remember those passwords. We make it easy for you. One-stop shopping and listening for your news talk. And thanks for making us number one in the region. The pulse of NH. The pulse of NH. Our poll question up on X. A lot of concern about colleges in New Hampshire, four-year universities, our university system, less money, budget cuts. Our poll question this morning, the community college system is booming. Do you think we should invest more as a state in our community college system? Yes or no? Do you think we should invest more as a state in our community college system? Yes or no? The poll question's up on X. I'll be interested. J-Doc from yesterday. Raise or lower? Well, yeah, president wants them lowered. I don't think, as he said, he is not going to probably fire Jerome Powell. Markets shot up yesterday after a softening from the administration, talking about even trying to calm things down with China. So we'll have more on that. You know, it's interesting. I'll come back to the colleges in a moment. But, you know, the states and so much is happening, but some of the stuff that amazes me is people don't even, how do I say this? The media doesn't explain, you know, all of a sudden, every state around us, including New Hampshire, Governor Kelly Ayotte, the legislature, lawmakers of the state house, they're dealing with a budget, a new state budget. And there's less, let me just make this very clear. There's less federal money pouring into the states. And why is that? Because in the last several years, the federal spigot was gushing billions and billions of dollars into our states. And we get all these surpluses. All this federal money is pouring in. We have almost a $36 trillion debt. And no one is explaining why the funny money has slowed down. The spigots of the federal stuff are slowing down because they had to. Now, states like New Hampshire and Maine probably get about 10% of a lot of the stuff they need from the federal government for education and everything else, programs that are necessary. But there's less money coming in. And unlike the federal government, no one explains this to you. Unlike the federal government, governors like Kelly Ayotte or House speakers, Senate presidents, and states, they have to balance their budget. It's a 2-year budget that will be put to bed probably in a few months from now as we get towards the end of June. And the state Senate, typically and always in New Hampshire, going back to when I was a young reporter at WMUR covering the state house, the state Senate plays the biggest role in a final budget. The governor can propose a budget. The House can come up with a budget. It will be in the Senate. And then it'll go back to the governor to concur, veto, or sign. So everyone jumped up and down when the House came out with some of their stuff. Do you remember? It's amazing how people just lose their memory. I remember some of the local media jumping up and down. Oh, my goodness. House Republicans in New Hampshire want to close the state library, one of the oldest in the country. The way you do a budget is the way you run your household. You put everything on the table, what you're paying for cable, streaming, groceries, home improvements. You put it all on the table, and then you decide what you can't live without, what you cut. So the House, Governor Ayotte, they took that one away. They were going to close the state library or reduce it because they don't have enough money. No, they're not. And now there's talk of House Republicans want to cut $50 million to the university system. our colleges here in New Hampshire, and some are saying, "We can't do that. We can't do that. The universities can't survive. They need that money." Sure, they want that money. I don't know what's gonna happen in the end. Will it be a 50 million? No, no, it never is. Governor Ayotte will modify that number. They'll try and figure out how to keep the best for our universities here. But there's a bigger question here about our college system. And long before this current budget process was underway in the State House, and look at Maine, by the way. You want to know the antithesis in New Hampshire. And that's why having a Republican controlled legislature is the big difference. You want to know the antithesis in New Hampshire. Maine doesn't know how to cut spending. So Governor Mills is imposing about 12 new taxes, more on cannabis, more on the growers. They won't go after the illegal growers in Maine. Have you heard about that? It's another story for another day. How many illegal marijuana operations are scattered across Cumberland and York County and all the way up northern Maine? Oh, my goodness. Governor Mills is not a tax she doesn't like. They're even a tax prescription medication for seniors. Yeah, about 12%. They don't know how to cut. But in New Hampshire, we know how to live within our means. And isn't it amazing? We forget this. No income, no sales tax. Look at Massachusetts, one of the most taxed states. That's why I had to chuckle the other day when Governor Healy was jumping up and down and celebrating the reenactment of Paul Revere's ride, the Battle of Lexington. She doesn't even know, in all the respect. She should, but she doesn't know, or she won't really acknowledge this. What the true history of the American Revolution was from England was overtaxation. Look at Massachusetts, one of the most overtaxed states per capita outside of California. They have a, if you make too much money in Massachusetts, a couple they call it a wealth tax. They're going to take that away from you. So good luck, Massachusetts. There's not a tax they don't like. But New Hampshire, they're going to balance a budget. Kelly Ayotte, no big new taxes. And our colleges are going to get less. Will it be 50 million less from the state legislature? No, it'll be a less of a cut, a lower cut than that. But they're going to get less because there's less pie to go around. There's less food to feed the family. There's less on the table. So in the end, New Hampshire will stay open and we'll live within our means, unlike the federal government. Less federal money coming in. But the college system is a problem in the sense that there's declining enrollment, and they won't even tell you that. There's fewer students in New Hampshire going to these colleges, the four-year undergraduate liberal art, University of New Hampshire, Durham, Plymouth State University, Plymouth, and Keene. There's less students coming in, less money coming in. UNH college, four-year college system was already facing in 2026 a $20 to $25 million cut that they have to make themselves in operations because it's like a business. I don't know if you knew this, education is a business. Not everyone has big endowments like Harvard. It's a business. Less money coming in, they'll make cuts. But our community college system is exploding. And I've been saying on this show, if you want to get creative in education, if you're worried about the $50 million the House Republicans have put in their version of a budget, which will not be the budget in the end. The Senate will craft a budget. Governor Ayotte will get more involved near the end of this process. But the community college system is growing. And I have said, if you want to innovate and save our universities, our four-year colleges, integrate the community college system right onto the campuses, embed the community college system, excuse me, right on the campuses of the four-year university. So North Country, White Mountain Community College, go to the Plymouth campus, Great Bay, go over to UNH Durham and integrate, put them right there. And you're going to have more synergy and innovation. That's the kind of thinking we need. But the college system, it is time to seriously review this because the numbers are going down in terms of money coming in. The demand for community college is going up. Wake up, trustees. Wake up, lawmakers. No offense. Wake up, Governor Kelly. This is where we need to invest in our future. The marketplace is calling for it. Families have been stung by inflation for too many years. They can't afford 20, 30 grand a year to send their kid to college anymore. They can go to the community colleges, 2-year associate's degree, come out as a radiologist, technician, or technical assistant, make 80, 90 grand a year to 80 or 90 grand a year to start with no college debt after 2 years. It's pretty HVAC programs. By the way, in the next hour, we're talking about bringing back the trades. We're going to have one of the great presidents of our community colleges, Patrick Tompkins, in our studios from New Hampshire Technical Institute, NHTI, right here in Concord, bringing back the trades. This is the future. This is where the employers are going to the community college systems to craft 2-year programs to train and hire people, younger people. We have a shortage of people in the trades. The community colleges are filling it. They're also filling it for healthcare, law enforcement, public safety, you name it. Community college is where the growth is. No disrespect to an anthropology degree from UNH in Durham or a sociology degree, but I'm telling you right now, it's not the future for the next 10 or 15 years. The marketplace is changing in higher ed. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll tell you about May 7th, our Make 12 Hours Count for Veterans Count, part of Easter Seals. My 11th annual, we go 12 hours for our veterans on May 7th. We have some great underwriters for the day, including FedPoint, Bank of America locally, Northeast Delta Dental, to name a few. But we do it right here in a few weeks. We go 12 hours for our veterans. Less than 1% serve a pretty big entitled population in America. And we come back some commentary, 603-228-2080. I have a simple question for you. And it hit me like a ton of bricks coming in this morning. I'm listening to all the national and regional news. 3 or 4 stories from the Supreme Court to Minnesota to Maine are about transgender rights in sports, all about transgender males or boys playing in women's sports. And Minnesota's going to fight, and Maine's fighting, and the transgender sports. And the other one is due process for illegal migrants who are not U.S. citizens. I got to tell you, I'm getting to the point where I've had enough on both subjects. Just telling you right now, had enough. I'm sure you have too. Why can't these states like Maine and Minnesota and Massachusetts, who are so adamant to talk about boys playing girls' sports or men playing women's sports, or a student who's been here illegally and they want to deport and the legal fight? Okay. All the energy around that. Why don't these states spend more time and energy per capita ending veteran homelessness and veteran suicide and doing a better job on mental health and PTSD for our veterans? Why is it all the energy seems to be going towards 2 buckets right now and not towards the 3rd bucket? Can anyone tell me that? Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Back in a moment. I it'd be Can I ask you a question? This is under the category. Can I ask you a question? 603-228-2080. Um, I don't mean to name certain governors, but when's the last time Massachusetts is a pretty big, important state in New England? When's the last time you heard Governor Mara Healy go to a podium and say, we have too many veterans in the Bay State who are homeless? We have too many veterans in the Bay State that are taking their own lives from emotional wear and tear. Anyone? Um, State of Maine seems more determined to fight the Trump administration to allow boys and men to play in women and girls sports. When's the last time Governor Mills got up there and said, in Brunswick and Lewiston, Auburn, Portland, we have too many veterans who are homeless and struggling, and we can end this quickly. We have too many veterans that are taking their own lives. Here in New Hampshire, Phil Taubes, some of the mission has educated us that in New Hampshire, about once in every 8 days, a veteran will take his or her own life quietly, silently. We don't hear about it. We don't know about it unless that's someone you loved, or that's your family, your nephew, your niece, your cousin, your wife, your kid, your neighbor. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of hearing every day about people wanting to say that it's okay for boys to play in girls' sports or men to play in women's sports. I'm getting to the point where I don't give a damn. I'm sorry if that offends you. You do you, I'll do me. I root for health, wellness, and happiness. I've had enough of this crap. I have an opinion, finally. I don't think it's right to have men playing in women's sports, but why are we spending all this energy and time on this? Why don't we end veteran homelessness? Why don't we end veteran suicide? Why don't we talk about this? Is it not as cool? Not as trending? Where does all this emanate from? I read the other day in Burlington, Massachusetts, a story about the curriculum that they want to teach fourth graders about intercourse, different ways to have sex in fourth grade. Who the hell are these lunatics? Who are they in a public school system pushing this crap? It's not about censorship. It's about polluting a young person's mind when they're not even ready to be polluted. The other one is we're spending all this time talking about the due process rights for an illegal migrant. People forget the word illegal. It's about a migrant or a resident who's not a U.S. citizen. So we're going to spend all this time, all these cases, and talk about who can be deported and who can't. It's a good, important thing. And by the way, dealing with illegal immigration is long overdue. Long overdue. But I'm getting tired of that. Do I really care about the Maryland resident and his rights in El Salvador? And he's not, in my opinion, a legal U.S. citizen. Not that important to me. I'm sorry. It just isn't. On a scale of 1 to 10, I care about ending veteran homelessness. I care about doing a better job of people among us of all ages on mental health, anxiety, stress, depression, or ending suicide, or doing a better job on addiction. There was a young, wonderful young man in New Hampshire a few weeks ago, passed away from a overdose. Didn't know what he was taking or addicted to, had fentanyl in it. Beautiful family. I knew his sister because she was friends with my kids, and it was a big story among the families who knew him, but you didn't know about that. You don't know about the people that are dying from addiction and fentanyl overdoses in your community unless you know them, unless your kid went to school with them, unless they are someone you love. You don't know about veteran suicide unless it hits your house. But we spend all this time, all this energy, all this divisiveness on who can play in women's sports and why more women don't stand up and say, no, it's our sport. We worked hard to have our own sports. That's the way it is. I'm sorry. Life's not perfect. Life is not perfect. But we can end veteran homelessness. It's a choice. We can end veteran suicide or try to. That's why Veterans Count a few weeks from now, part of Easter Seals, vetscount.org, my 11th annual Make 12 Hours Count for Veterans. They have driven it down the last few years to almost zero once a care coordinator starts to work with a veteran who is facing mental PTSD, anguish, and stress that might have well likely ended their life. They've driven it down to zero. We can end veteran homelessness. It's a choice. It's a desire. It's a want. We make choices every day. When you enter a rotary, do you yield or do you plow into it? Do you drive fast? Do you put your seatbelt on? Do you wake up? Do you eat a banana? Or do you eat a cupcake? Do you work out? Do you go to bed? Well, life's a choice. Life's a choice. We could end veteran homelessness. We can end veteran suicide. We can. We can if we choose to. But I'm getting sick and tired of these political leaders who want to die on a hill fighting something that they perceive as important for their constituents when 80% of the people are like, why the heck are they talking about this? It's a choice. Politics is a choice. Priorities within politics are a choice. What you focus on as a business is a choice. Everything in your life's a choice. I'm getting sick and tired of the choices being made. I've had enough of this crap. I've had enough of it. I'd rather spend time saving some lives here, saving those who served us, who quietly serve. These families, the same families are serving. I have state troopers that come in for our state police segment brought to you by Auto Fair and the state police. And many of the troopers will say, well, my uncle, my mother, my father was a firefighter or a police officer. I wanted to serve. My uncle was in the military. I wanted to join the National Guard. Same families of service. Why don't we focus on supporting them a little more than all these other marginal issues that suck all the oxygen out of the room, get people jumping up and down and screaming? And, if you live in Massachusetts and you want to spend more housing illegal migrants in Taunton, Mass, than taking care of a young mother or father who's facing emergency shelter with kids, if you want to spend more in Mass than saving veterans in East Boston or Roxbury or Dorchester or Jamaica Plain, if you want to spend more in Mass on, housing illegal migrants or fighting this person to stay here or making sure girls, sports are not protected. You want to fight these things, but you want to live in Massachusetts, have a governor who taxes the heck out of you and focuses on these things versus ending veteran homelessness because it's important to her to fight the transgender stuff, more important than saving veterans, and you choose to live there, that's a choice you made. You want to live in the state of Maine with Governor Mills, that's a choice you make. Go ahead, pay those income taxes, pay the sales taxes. Do you know in Brunswick, Maine, they have a beautiful new apartment building? My nephew lives in the area, works at a hospital there. $3,000 a month rent if you can get a nice brand new building. Nice, it's near the old military base they closed down there in Brunswick. And but if you're an illegal migrant, you can live there for free. If you're a veteran from Brunswick, you're paying $3,000 a month in rent. Life's about a choice. You want to live in Maine, live there. You want to vote the same way, live there. But stop whining to me and make some choices that maybe will save some lives. How about starting with our veterans? 603-228-2080. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play The Pulse of an Age. Back in a moment. All right, we are back and go over to the Seacoast side of things. Alicia Preston Xanthopoulos, aka APX, Seacoast Online. Good morning. Did you? No, thank you. Happy Wednesday to you. Beautiful weather out there the next few days. Um, so I just was something hit me on the way in. It wasn't a bird on my show this morning, and I'm listening to the news. Every other story had to do with two subjects, nationally, regionally: transgender sports rights, or who has what rights as an illegal migrant for due process. So that was it. I'm getting sick of both, to be honest with you. And I'm starting to think about we have veterans that are taking their own lives right here in New England, veteran homelessness. Why are we spending so much time on boys playing in girls' sports, men in women's sports, or who has a right to due process when they're not even a US citizen? But anyway, I get it to a point, but I'm getting sick of both. Why aren't we choosing to talk about as governors ending veteran homelessness and suicide? Why is that neglected? Because it's something we could do. But they affect mental health. For example, we've done a terrible job in New England and here and nationally on anxiety, depression, young people, older people, veterans, PTSD. That affects more people's lives. Addiction, fentanyl overdoses. Quietly, every other week, I'll hear about a young person who didn't even know. The parents will say, "Well, they were battling addiction. They got a Percocet they didn't even know had fentanyl in it." Talk to the state police laboratory. Almost all the drug cases under investigation have some degree of fentanyl being laced in there. But if you don't know that kid or family, or if you don't know the veteran, these things are affecting human lives. Not, no offense, you know, a boy playing in girls' sports, which I don't think is right. But if you want to spend all day and die on that hill, go ahead. I think it's getting to be a complete waste of time in some respects. Myself. Whoa, 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 wait. So you wait. Why does someone who comes to the country? I'm not talking about Maryland. Someone who comes into the country illegally, why do they have a right to due process if they're here illegally? Why can't they just be deported? Yeah, due process, but it's not the same as a US. If you're a US citizen, that's a different thing in the courts. You have a right, innocent till proven guilty. If you and I broke into Mexico illegally, do you think they care in Mexico or Juarez about due process? Okay, keep going. Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I just look at it's about choices, and I look at what sucks the oxygen out of the room of the debate. And I'm not gonna. I do agree we have a system, and we are as imperfect as our system is. It's still better than most any system on earth in terms of rights. And I'm not gonna disagree that some people probably should have more due process, but I think I'm looking at the effort on the transgender and the sports side, and I've had enough. I mean, this is really why? What's that? Yeah. Well, again, I look at the things that can be fixed, and again, I said earlier, life's about choices. We make choices every day, what to focus on. I'm just going to point this out. Attorney General's office can't focus on every crime, so they'll focus on certain areas they perceive as important. A politician, a governor, a country, a business. You focus on certain things, and life's about choices. We as individuals make choices, good and bad, every single day. Turn left, turn right, slow down, speed up, go to bed, wake up, work out, don't work out, eat this, drink that. And as a society, the stuff that pisses me off is the stuff we can focus on, we don't. Mental health, by far, affects more people from to some degree than anyone else of ages, young people too. Anxiety, stress. I had the UNH Durham police folks on my show a few weeks ago because they have this comfort dog program on campus. Number one reason for calls on public safety at UNH in Durham, number one reason, not theft, not damage to a vehicle, not a crime like, someone breaks in your dorm and steals your lunch money. Emotional, mental health calls. Number one. Number one. Did anyone talking about that in the state of New Hampshire? If I if I was a state leader, I'd be like, "You're telling me that our largest university in the state, in Durham, that like 98% of the calls are to do with mental health on campus?" Yes, that's what we're telling you, but no one is amplifying that. No one is talking about that. When you and I went to college, Alicia, typically you went to the infirmary if you had a flu, strep throat, a mononucleosis, or you hit your head, you needed to go get some ice. Today, mental health. Okay, we have a shortage of therapists. Oh, by the way, we have affordable housing crisis. I'm hearing from veterans they can't afford rent. And here we are talking about transgender sports rights? See, what about seniors? Older, I think everyone out there is deals with some degree of mental health challenges. It could be depression. Some people in the winter don't do well when it gets dark at 4. You know what I'm saying? There's some degree, and yet we don't talk about it. So what happens in the veteran community, some people will self-medicate, then they get hooked, and next thing you know, you're dealing with someone who took their own life. And you know what? We should do better and more, and I'm sick and tired with the subjects that are taking all the dominating energy in states. And I'm like, who's pushing this agenda? And I don't mean to say this, Alicia, but in Burlington, Mass, last week or two, because parents almost look like they're the problem when they go to school board meetings. Parents are ostracized. They're not allowed. In Burlington, Mass, some dingbat who oversees public education thinks it's okay to give a survey to fourth graders where they explain the different ways to have intercourse. What is driving that? What what is it's not about censorship. There's an agenda here. What is driving that? And I'm going, okay, I haven't changed since I was 16 or 17 years old in high school arguing with my older sister. What's driving that? Where does that come from? Where does that come from in Burlington, Mass? Where does that come from? What is driving that? And by the way, this was given to kids and their parent, a survey. I chose, and I could have read every word. I chose not even to read the actual survey on the air because it was making me sick. That's not even appropriate for an 18-year-old to read, let alone a 4th grader. What moron, what lunatic thinks that that's okay for a 4th or 3rd grader? If this had happened when my kids were in school, I don't think I'd probably be in the hands of the Bedford Police Department because I'd go in and probably throw some furniture around the principal's office. Anyway, I appreciate it. What are you writing about in Seacoast Online? Yeah. Yeah, get on that, will you? All right, thank you, APX. Good stuff. All right, come back with one of our political analysts and all stars. By the way, an all new edition today of Contact Politics. Put your helmet on, Brad Card, and yours truly. Gonna speak with a former member of Congress from New York. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H back in a few. All right, we are back, and we a lot going on. And Brad Card, co-host of Contact Politics, another new edition today. Great guest this week. We had a good one last week talking about university political science professors in this environment today, politically speaking. Brad Card, good morning. Who do we have today? This week? Interesting. Well, today's another day. Some signs that the administration, Treasury Secretary, calm the markets a little bit. Maybe try. We're going to soften some things on China. President Trump playing a little bit with the Federal Reserve, but not pushing more. And who knows what? Because it just seems to me right now that there's a lot of ancillary noise coming out of Washington. That's not new, by the way. But what's catching your eye this morning? All right, Brad. What else? There's got to be more. What do you? What else are you hearing? All right, and interesting, Brad. I not a lot of we're in this lull with the 2026 picture here in New Hampshire in this US Senate race. I'm just surprised because I guess it's going to be this way for another 3 or 4 weeks before we hear if anyone's going to challenge Chris Pappas on the Democrat side, which I tend to doubt of any serious challenge. Could get a more progressive left candidate, but I think it's Pappas's nomination to lose. And Scott Brown, you talked about the other day or yesterday morning, I think, with some analysis, but still waiting to hear on the first congressional district side of things, the Republicans, Stephanie Shaheen, Maura Sullivan running the Democrat, but it's been kind of quiet. And then we're still looking at the governor's race. Obviously, not obviously, but Kelly Ayotte will no doubt go for a second term. I think she'll be strong, but you don't know the environment in the midterms and what Democrat will step up. But when do you think we'll start to fill in some of these blanks? Yeah. All right. And you say he's not running. All right. Got to run. Catch you in a bit on contact politics. Thanks, Brad. All right. Coming up, New Hampshire College Community System.